Welcome. Prayer with meditation and reading are the two practices I've shared so far out of 7 that help me daily. Are you ready for practice 3? I love this one. It's extremely powerful in elevating, improving, and maintaining my ideal marriage. The next 3 things that I will tell you about, I have in a folder on the desktop of my computer. And the first one I always open is my gratitude journal. When my marriage was struggling, the most, I read a book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. It changed my life. The way she expressed her ideas on how important gratitude was really lit me on fire with this practice. She teaches 30 days of gratitude in this book, and I took the challenge. I still use this book to help me stay on track. The first day of her challenge was that you count your blessings. So you write a list of 10 words every day that you are grateful for. And that was perfect start for me. It was quick and easy. I continued my list of 10 things for a few weeks every day. When I saw how helpful it was, I took it a step further. I had to go back and look just now, but for the next 1170 days, I wrote 10 things I was thankful for, but I added why I was grateful for them. And this was way more helpful. While I have many entries that aren't about people, I'm going to share just a couple of the ones I wrote about people in my life, since this podcast is about healing and improving our marriage relationship. When I wrote the whys in each entry, I felt more love for each person or blessing, a lot more than just writing a word like their name. The why helped me because it made me dig deeper. It forced me to put into words what these people and things really meant to me. My first entry was about my husband, and it may sound too good to be true. Just remember, I had already been honing this skill for months before I was able to sincerely write this paragraph and mean it. And I'd also done tons of work on my marriage at this point. Things were much better between us. So, number one is I am truly blessed to have Jeff in my life as my husband and for eternity. He provides for our family. He's my best companion and friend. He's on my side. He supports my efforts in everything I do. He's made it possible for me to be a wife, mom, life coach, founder of Brightening Blooms, and gardener. Much of the service I provide in church and in my community wouldn't be possible without his support and help. He is kind and good to me. He loves me. He is my favorite. Okay, this was number 6. I am grateful for and happy for Sierra. She's my first child. She brought joy and happiness to me that I didn't realize existed in the universe. The first moment I held her, I felt awe and wonder and amazement. My body created this delightful and perfect little human. I thought she was the most beautiful tiny baby I'd ever seen. She was surely the tiniest I had ever held. So Sierra was born, she was 5 pounds and 7 ounces. She was teeny. I would just stare at her perfect little fingers and toes. I was so happy that I was a small part of bringing her into this world. What a blessing. I felt immense gratitude that I was willing to make the sacrifices for her to experience mortality, and to God for allowing me this privilege of being a mother. Number 17 isn't a human, but she's an important member of our family. Number 17, I wrote, I am happy and grateful for my dog, Daisy. I waited a long time for Daisy to be born and then bring her home. She's been a wonderful companion and friend. When I had oral surgery, she stayed by my side in pain all day long. She was a wonderful mother to her puppies and helped me to fulfill my dream of my children getting to experience the joys of raising puppies. I'm so grateful to have had the chance to have Daisy. She is such fun to hike and walk with. She's eager to please and loves the whole family. One of my favorite characteristics is she gets so excited when certain people visit that she makes a high, excited squeal. Life is better with Daisy in it. So after the 1170th day of writing the why, after what I was grateful for, I found a practice that has stuck for years now. I haven't changed it since it's just worked really, really well. My gratitude journal now looks like this. Each morning I write a paragraph of gratitude. If I can't think of anything, I think what happened yesterday in my life. I go through the day in my mind until I remember what happened that was a blessing. I've never not been able to find something. I always thank God for whatever it is, because I know that everything I have and am is a gift from Him to me. Your marriage relationship may feel broken or super difficult. You may have a broken heart. You might feel lots of criticism, blame, hurt, or resentment towards your spouse. You can fix this through gratitude. Gratitude will magically improve your marriage. The last thing we feel is gratitude for our spouse when our marriage is struggling. Instead, we find they are to blame and all the problems they are creating for us. This means we aren't being grateful in the least. Blame and judgment will never, ever make your life better. It will create the exact opposite. The more you complain and compare, the worse your relationship will get and the worse your life will get. I know this from personal experience. Shannon Alder said it this way: forget what hurt you in the past, but never forget what it taught you. However, if it taught you to hold grudges, seek revenge, not forgive, or show compassion, to categorize people as good or bad, to distrust and be guarded with your feelings, then you didn't learn a thing. God doesn't bring you lessons to close your heart. He brings you lessons to open it by developing compassion, learning to listen, seeking to understand instead of speculating, practicing empathy, and developing conflict resolution through communication. If he brought you perfect people, how would you ever learn to spiritually evolve? When I say that marriage is your PhD in becoming more like Jesus Christ, Shannon's quote explains what I mean. Will you choose to see the challenges in your marriage as stumbling blocks or as stepping stones? Will they teach you how to do a little better or make you cold and distant? Bad feelings about your spouse hurt your life, but gratitude will start to eliminate those feelings. I was kind of floored while reading The Secret when Rhonda Burns shared that one day she sat down and wrote 10 things about her ex-husband to help her heal her mind and her heart. When I initially read these 10 things, I was shocked at how loving they sounded, especially since the marriage had ended. She claimed that gratitude had magically transformed her heart. This is what she wrote about her ex-husband. And she wrote 10 things, and I will read them because it really was profoundly influential in my life. Number one, Paul, I'm grateful for our time together. While our marriage did end, I learned a lot. I'm so much wiser today, and I use what I learned from our marriage in many of my relationships today. Number two, Paul, I'm grateful for everything you did to try and make our marriage work because 10 years of marriage means you did try. Number three, Paul, I'm grateful for you for our children. The joy I receive from them every day could not be without you. Number four, Paul, I'm grateful to you for the hard work and long hours you put in to support our family while I was at home taking care of our children. It was a big responsibility to have all of us dependent on you. So thank you. Number five, Paul, I'm grateful to you for the precious moments I had with our children as they grew up. I got to see our children talk and walk for the first time, and I know you didn't have that opportunity. Number six, Paul, I'm grateful for your support when I went through a difficult time of grief and loss. Paul, I'm grateful to you for the times when I was sick and you did your best to take care of me and the children. Number eight, Paul, I'm grateful for the great times we had, and we did have many. Number nine, Paul, I'm grateful that you want to continue to be a father to our children. Number 10, Paul, I'm grateful for your support and the time you want to give our children. I know they mean as much to you as they do to me. That was awesome. When I read that, I decided to try to do this exercise with my spouse. It was when I was having a really hard time. And I thought back on the history of our relationship and I listed the great things I had received from our relationship. The easiest way to do this was to remember how things were before the relationship deteriorated. I thought long and hard about good qualities in my spouse because they were still there. Rhonda helped me see this by expanding it this way. This magical practice is not about who is right or wrong. No matter what you feel someone has done to you, no matter what someone says or didn't do, you can magically heal the relationship and you don't need the other person in order to heal it. This is absolutely true. I have healed my marriage relationship as well as other relationships without the other person even being involved in the process. The first step of forgiving is possible because I do this practice of reviewing gratitude for the person I want to feel better towards. This process takes humility and time and effort. I write down what comes to my mind and I ask God to help me see with new eyes. I ask Him for His perspective on this person. I love to go back and review what great thoughts God and I came up with whenever I hit a rocky spot again in my relationships. Every marriage will have ups and downs. Then I don't have to do all the work of remembering it again. I can just read it and remind myself the truths that I discovered. So much of the work I've done in my marriage is reminding myself of the way I am choosing to think about my spouse and situations between us. Gratitude can turn an ordinary spouse into your hero. It can make a lifelong ordinary relationship feel like a romantic love story. Refocusing on gratitude creates a better relationship because what you focus on will always increase. When you change your focus from what you don't want and what you don't like to what you do, your perspective will shift. You will have a different marriage, even if nothing has changed. You have a lot to complain about, and you have a lot to be grateful for in your marriage. Both perspectives about your marriage are true. But by thinking, feeling, and expressing gratitude, you'll actually help you and your spouse respond to each other differently. If you are super grateful about small things your spouse will do, they'll do them more if you just notice them. My husband he'd never made our bed ever. And one miraculous day he did. And I thanked him profusely. And he makes our bed now often. The opposite is also true. When we can't please someone, it's just human nature to get discouraged and quit trying. Expressing gratitude will help make your spouse feel appreciated and inspired to want to do more. We don't express gratitude as a way to manipulate our spouse into doing more of what we want. They will see right through it. We express gratitude because we've decided the kind of spouse we and person that we want to be, and then it really doesn't matter what they do or don't do. We are going to be a person who is aware and who's thankful for what others do for us in our lives. Most of us have a thought error around expressing gratitude. We don't believe we should have to express gratitude. Why should we thank our spouses for working when we work really hard too? You may feel you're doing more than your part, so you shouldn't have to thank your spouse for doing the little they actually do. You will continue to get little or no help and feel lots of resentment from this place. Everyone likes to be appreciated, and you will feel happy when you learn to express more gratitude. You will feel proud of yourself. It feels really good. When you practice gratitude, you give up trying to control your spouse, and in the process, you become a better version of you. When my husband used to help with something, I would say things like thanks, and then I would mention what he might also do. I thought I was just being helpful. I'd say things like, thanks for helping with kitchen, but can you remember to wipe the chairs off too? Or thanks for changing the baby, but can you make sure to close the wipes and throw the diaper outside? Or the outside of the car looks amazing now, but the inside is still a wreck. You can't be thankful and offer helpful advice at the same time. That nullifies your compliment and your gratitude. You are really just sandwiching complaints between a thank you. That's not being thankful. You are either grateful for something and accept it as it is, or you are dissatisfied and have to offer comments about it. Being helpful is complaining. You can't do both. Next time you are complaining in your mind and in your heart, just know that you are not being grateful. It also will cost you in the intimacy you are hoping to create in your marriage. It will destroy the pleasant feeling and the effects of gratitude. Another common thought error is that your spouse never thanks you, so why should you thank them? Jody agreed with me, a client, that she could try gratitude even though her husband didn't deserve it. She thanked him for working hard at his job, for taking out the trash and taking the baby for a ride in the stroller. A couple days later, her husband said, I think we should try to appreciate each other more. Thanks for making dinner. She was pleasantly surprised, even a bit shocked. I've learned even if I don't feel grateful, I can still decide to be grateful. This includes being grateful for me. When I start to feel resentful for lack of appreciation, the best one to give me appreciation is me. I take a moment to think about all the things I showed up for today that no one else noticed. I congratulate my efforts and I cheer myself on. I imagine how proud Heavenly Father feels about what I'm doing. And then I feel conviction to keep going because that's who I want to be, regardless of appreciation from anyone else. Yesterday, while I was writing this podcast, my husband was cleaning a good portion of the house. And I went into him and I said, you are such a hard worker. Thank you. And he was like, I know I am. And that's kind of what we started doing around here. He's heard me say it, and I've heard him say it. Now my kids say it. And it's feels really good to be acknowledged and also to acknowledge yourself and really be happy that you're being the kind of person you want to be and helping in the ways you want to help. So Zig Ziglar once told a story of a woman who wanted his help around hating her job. And Zig asked her to get out a notebook and write down the things she was grateful for about her job. She just looked at him in disbelief and then explained again, no, you don't understand. I hate my job. You could insert marriage or spouse or whatever. I'm not grateful for anything about it. The people are just awful. But Zig insisted this gratitude list was the next step. So he waited and she resisted, and he waited and she refused, and he waited. Once more, she said there wasn't one single thing that she was grateful for. Zig asked, so this is a volunteer position then? The woman looked at him like he was crazy, and she said, no, I go there because I have to support myself. I go there for the money. And Zig said, so you don't like to be paid? This made her even more agitated, and she admitted that she did like being paid. Zig said, good, that can be the first thing to add to your list. She wrote that down, and they continued to work on her list. It turned out that her job paid her above average wages and also came with a generous medical plan. So those things went on the list. Her employer contributed to her retirement fund, so that went on the list. Her office was close to her house, which meant she didn't have to travel far every day. They kept adding more things she was grateful for about her job until there were 22 things on the gratitude list about a job she absolutely hated. Next, Zig instructed her to read the list out loud in front of her mirror every day. She agreed, and Zig left Birmingham for his next destination. A while later, he was back in the area speaking, and he saw the same woman on the front row. After his speech, she came up to him and said, I just want to thank you for your help. I've been reading my gratitude list in the mirror every day for months. Zig asked about her job, and she said, it's much better. You can't believe how much the people there have improved. Of course, it may be that the woman's coworkers had improved, but one thing we know for sure is that her attitude toward them improved. She was focused on what she liked. She was grateful for what she had. That makes all the difference. And I will add my testimony to that for sure, that what you look for, you'll find. And I also, like I've told you before, I love voice memos because that's my way of, instead of reading them in the mirror, I listen to them when I'm in the car, and I just, for whatever I want to believe, I just speak it into my voice memo. And then I listen to it before I listen to my favorite stuff, like my podcast or my music that I want to listen to. I just force myself to, hey, let's just go over the things we want to believe. And it's been really gratifying to be able to delete some of those because I've realized I believe them. I don't need to listen to them anymore. That's the power of, I think, practicing what we want to believe, because beliefs are just what we've practiced over and over again in our heads. And a lot of people that I talk to are like, oh, I don't like mantras. I don't think they work. I think they're weird. I think they're kind of out there. I'm like, you actually do have mantras every day. You have mantras going through your head. And so you can choose the mantras to be really good things, or you can choose the mantras that your brain is choosing for you, which is usually not what you want to be repeating over and over and over again in your head. But either way, it's happening. So if you want to have more control over your life, you should try those voice memos and practicing what you really do want to believe. This week is a perfect week to try a gratitude experiment in your marriage. It is life-changing. You may see how wonderful this practice feels and start your own routine of daily gratitude like I did. It's too powerful for me to give up. Start by making a list of 10 things you appreciate about your spouse. Think about the qualities you were attracted to when you first met. If you're having a hard time, your spouse still has those qualities, but you probably haven't been concentrating on those recently. They may even be buried at the moment. You have the power to bring them back into the light. I'm convinced that my daily practice of gratitude played a big part in my goal of seeking and expecting miracles in my marriage. I hope you'll give it a try. and have a great week.